evening, London. From oh, well, that was a great start to the podcast. I botched the intro. Let's start again. Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for pro wrestling insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Today is Sunday Funday, and we're going to be doing another edition of our new game show that we are calling Wrestling's Heaven and Hell, with our contestants arguing why their wrestling loves and hates should be sent to either wrestling heaven or hell. The rules are very simple. Each round, both of the contestants will argue what they believe should be added to either wrestling heaven or hell, with me then choosing which one will get that honor. So joining me today, our first contestant, Clark Taylor. How are you, Clark?
I'm doing well. Happy to be back once again on a Sunday Funday. It doesn't get much better than Sunday Funday. I did win last week. Can't go without mentioning that. And I'm looking to build upon it. I'm looking to build a dynasty here. Undefeated, never lost. 1 point was one of my things, and I'm trying to go that way. Unfortunately, I was defeated early in the game, so that's off the table. But undefeated streak, possible. And I think it starts today.
Well, will the streak begin? We'll have to wait and find out. But our other contestant today is Coby Galenzoski. How are you, Coby?
It's the worst time of the week. You want to say it's Sunday Funday, and I'm sitting here and I'm still viewed as the devil as I continue to look at YouTube because I continue to see the thumbnail and I'm sitting here with the thorns. I'm still disgusted about this. I'm coming for the win. I'm coming for my crown, the crown that I won the first time I was here. At the end of the day, Clark, you got lucky last time.
Oh, I like it.
Fighting talk. Well, nobody asked, but I'm doing awful today because Arsenal, well, pretty much are officially cannot win the Premier League. So, yeah, that's why I'm so thrown off.
Oh, my gosh. I totally messed up, by the way. I'm sorry not to cut you off, Ben, but it's Mother's Day here, and I have to shout out my mom. That's a big mess up on the intro. Dude, I've got the coolest mom ever, and I don't even give her a shout out on Mother's Day. Mom, I love you. You're the best. Monster shout out. Happy Mother's Day, and I'll see you in a few hours for dinner.
Nice. Happy Mother's Day to everybody in the US. I think it's most of the world today, just not the UK for some reason. But yeah, in the UK, it's another, I think it's in February over here. But yeah, we're going to get into all of that and more, and hopefully not talk Arsenal because I don't even want to think about that. But let's talk first wrestling hell. Round one will be where our contestants get to choose what they want to put in wrestling hell. There's no theme, there's no topic. They can choose anything. So, Clark, I'm going to go to you first. What do you want to send to wrestling hell?
I'm so excited about this one because I've wanted to send it for so long. This direction. The toss out of the ring, barricade spot, straight to commercial. Needs to go to wrestling hell right now. It's so predictable, and when you get it twice in a match, you must be kidding. I understand televised wrestling, but you get a barricade spot, they're going to break. Stop it. We know now. Figure out another way to send us a commercial. There's other ways. There's multiple camera people around the ring. It doesn't have to be toss them out of the ring, barricade spot, commercial break. I'm done with it. It's every match. It's on all the major promotions that have commercial breaks. It's not just WWE. It's not just AEW. They both do it. It's different when it's barricade versus, I guess, the metal barricade, but I mean, barely. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. And that's the one that I, out of the gates, absolutely want to send to wrestling hell.
Wow. Okay, I guess the reason that they do it, of course, because it's been done for quite a number of years now, and you are right. It's so obvious. It absolutely is. But I guess the reason they do it is so you don't miss anything during the commercial break. And of course, AEW have done picture-in-picture. But, do you personally mind, Clark, if you miss wrestling during the commercial break, as long as there's no major spots?
I shouldn't be getting up to get a slice of pizza as soon as someone gets tossed out of the ring because I know it's going to commercial in the next 30 seconds.
Oh,
And that would be
okay.
my answer to the question. It's just not right. It's just not right. And no matter how great the barricade spot is, it doesn't matter because we're going for 3 to 5 minutes of 60-second ad breaks. And I mean, picture in picture kind of helps. Not really. I don't know. But there's got to be other ways you can send it to a break because
Yeah.
we're smart enough to know that no matter how hard the barricade spot is, it's not 5 minutes of selling.
Yeah.
He's not just laying there, or she's not just laying there the entire time that we're during the commercial break. And so the answer to the wanting to miss action question is I want to see action and not know exactly what it is leading to.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, the one thing you reminded me of when you were talking about that then is something in the UK on, I think it was specifically ITV, they did for years. I'm not sure if they still do it. But they used to have a bit of a gradient in the corner, like a moving gradient in the upper left corner, 30 seconds before a TV show would go for an ad break, so that people would have time to get up, go to their kitchen and make a cup of tea and come back before the show starts again. Now, that is the most British thing ever. But I mean, perhaps if we think about it like that, maybe that's why WWE do it. Maybe it's so people don't miss any of the major action, and they want you to be familiar with the fact that it's going to commercial break. But I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit there. But Coby, what are you sent into wrestling hell?
So mine's a lot more specific because, like you said, that this happens almost on a daily basis on a wrestling television program. I want to take us back to 2017, and this was early in the year where we had the Elimination Chamber. The Elimination Chamber brought Bray Wyatt his first world title victory, and boy, what a victory it was. Everyone knew he deserved it. Everyone was behind Bray Wyatt in that exact very moment. And he got the big win. And what leads to it? Well, take us to WrestleMania 33, and we get Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton when there's projections of worms and maggots on the ring. At the end of the day, if you were going to kill anyone's momentum, you might as well have him get squashed by an RKO. One RKO, and that was it. This match was terrible, one of the worst matches of that show. At the end of the day, this deserves to go to hell because this is one of those matches that Bray Wyatt, if you're looking at his WrestleMania history, it's one of the worst ones. And he really only has had one good one, and that was the Firefly Funhouse. You look, he lost to Cena, which was a good match. And then he lost to Undertaker. Then he had this match. Then Then the one time he was on the pre-show helping Matt Hardy. Like, he's never had a good WrestleMania match but really the only one's the Firefly Funhouse. But this one does deserve to be in Wrestling Hell just because of how terrible the match played out. And the fact it wasn't even the blowout, because then we got not the Funhouse. I think it was the House of Horrors or something along those lines, which was just as garbage. And then that led to Jinder Mahal winning the world title off of Randy Orton.
Yes.
So what a bad time to be the WWE champion at that point.
No, it truly was one way to kill Bray Wyatt's momentum. It was very frustrating at the time because everybody wanted him to get the WWE Championship reign.
I gotta say
I think you have an argument here.
Response-wise, neither Randy Orton or Bray Wyatt are on current wrestling television. Every single show we watch, though, currently in the present time, we see roll out of the ring, barricade spot, commercial break. Multi-times a show. If Bray and Randy were still active at this second, completely understand where you're coming from. Neither one is. They're both on the shelf with injuries. How it's affecting them heading into this Mania season didn't matter. Neither one was on the card.
No.
Might not for next year. But next year, heading into Mania season, we will still see dump out of the ring, barricade spot, commercial break.
Any response to that, Coby?
I mean, the only response I can think of is look at I mean, your wrestling hell that you're attempting to put in is very personalized. Where mine, if you are going to mention Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania 33 and the projections of the worms and the maggots, whatever it actually was, all wrestling fans are going to hate it.
So we'll
Yours
go back
is
to
more of a
personalized
pet
here.
peeve.
Personalized, I hear where you're coming from on that. Now, wouldn't it be more personal that you have an affinity for a single match or a disaffinity? You're upset about it. You don't like it for a single match. Then pet peeve. I hear where you're coming from. But personalized, I don't know if I'm the only one that dislikes that action. That seems like, I mean, there's only 3 of us in this argument here. You know, we've got the host, we got you and I. I don't see anyone else that makes it personalized on my argument personally. Pun intended.
I think more people would say that this was a bad match than saying that's the barricade spot is a problem.
So your counter argument is that the IWC would agree with you.
I think everyone would.
Everyone?
I think more people 100% would say that was a bad match.
Only a Sith lives his life in absolutes. Everyone is all of them.
Hey, I'm already the devil here.
I love you, Cubby.
So this is usually the part of the show, guys, where I get out my lever, which is a different object every time, which is not a lever every time, or lever, as you say in the US. And I say, which one's going to wrestling hell? However, after this argument, we're actually going to mix it up a little bit for this round. And I'm, after this round, going to put it on the Instagram story and see what the IWC thinks is worse. And then we'll find out at the end of the show. So neither of you go on Instagram, and at the end of the show, we'll find out which one of these is going to wrestling hell.
But now let's... we got half an hour.
Mine better be well described.
We got to hurry up, Ben.
So round 2... is Wrestling Heaven, and this round is themed, and the theme is wrestling musical performances, and this is in honor of last night's Eurovision here in Europe last night, which, if you don't know what that is, it's when all the countries from, well, not all the countries, most of the countries in Europe come together for a song contest where we all compete against each other, but share each other's culture and all of that type of stuff, and that was last night. So yeah, I thought, well, what better way to celebrate it on the show than doing the best wrestling musical performances. Coby, I'll head to you first this time. What would you say is the best wrestling musical performance?
I mean, this is the luck of the draw that I get to go first for this round, because there's really only one major one that we can talk about. And we got to talk about when he was the Hollywood man. He was Mr. Hollywood. He was in the peak of his heel run. We have The Rock, and he's having his own rock concert in Sacramento. We're going with him saying one of the first songs is he's leaving Sacramento, which, like, if you're going to, as much as you can consider it cheap heat, he's doing his job. He's working the crowd. Exactly. He'll come back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May. And I think the other one I wrote down was there's a lot of fat ass women on it that he mentioned. And it's just like, he's doing his job. He's getting the heel heat. He's getting the crowd against him, and that's the job of the heel. There's ain't nothing but a redneck towards Stone Cold. You have the Stone Cold truck coming out, and it's a hurricane fake out. This is not necessarily peak Attitude Era, because this wasn't in the Attitude Era, because this was closer between Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression, when it was that transition period, if you want to call it that. And then, but a Stone Cold arrival is always going to be like an incredible moment. We saw it last year's WrestleMania. At the end of the day, Stone Cold came out. He gets to beat down on The Rock and stands tall. You're sending the crowd, regardless of the appearance in the card, you're sending the crowd happy because you got to see Stone Cold stun and beat up The Rock. This is the only viable option that you can say is a good wrestling musical performance if you are saying it's by a wrestler.
Okay. Some big statements there. Especially seeing it's the only one you can use. And I mean, that now straight away leads us to the question, Clark, do you even have one which you're going to bring up?
Oh, not only do I have one, I'm going to win this argument. This is like debate class, and I was good in that one. And I'll tell you this much. I'm with Coby. Rock concerts, outstanding. But what was he building to? Can we remember? That's a question. I understand I'm on here, but I'm not hearing anything from the peanut gallery. What was it building towards? Him and Stone Cold again? Did we really need to build towards that? While it's one of the most entertaining and iconic segments, I would argue Rock, This Is Your Life. Other ones were more important. Now, for a musical segment that made someone's career, started someone's career, I'm going to take you back to 96. Jeff Jarrett and the Road Dogg Jesse James. The Road Dogg, the roadie at the time, With My Baby Tonight. The music video released. Jeff Jarrett was some of the best, the absolute best, outside of Ashley Simpson, Jessica Simpson's sister, lip singing we've seen in ages. In the mid-90s, classic song, and it's so clearly Road Dogg's voice. The roadie, his lackey, it's the roadie. And it's our introduction to the roadie, eventually turns into the Road Dogg, eventually ends up being a new age outlaw, arguably a top 5 all-time WWE tag team, and key cogs in D-Generation X. This song starting it in 96 and then eventually leading to the Outlaws run. I would say this did more for Road Dogg, the Attitude Era, and the timing than the Rock concert did for The Rock. The Rock was already huge. It was an entertaining segment. It was so entertaining. It's iconic. But The Rock didn't push any chess pieces forward. Not himself. The Rock was the same we always thought of him. Stone Cold and The Rock was the same we've always thought. Great rivalry. They're great. But the timing of it, it didn't move anybody forward. With My Baby Tonight, moved both Jarrett and Road Dogg forward. And it's right before the inception of the Attitude Era. It's so important to those careers that I think, in my eyes, it historical impact wise, while it wouldn't be the first one to come to your mind, it had a greater impact than you would anticipate given the popularity of the Rock concert.
No, I mean, that is a great shout. And like you touched upon, it's often one which people forget about. I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot about it. I remember, of course, he did it at the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago as well. But that is a great shout. However, I'm now going to wrestling hell for clickbaiting this video, as nobody mentioned Jericho versus MJF. But
That
but
one was
anyway,
garbage.
Le Dinner Debonair.
garbage,
I'm a
let's be
huge
real.
fan of Le Dinner Debonair myself.
Oh, okay.
Huge fan of Le Dinner Debonair. The reason that I didn't select it is I thought this was a similar situation to the Rock concert where both MJF and Jericho were so over anyway. It only just established how talented they are, as opposed to nudging anything forward.
Mainstream appeal that brought mainstream appeal to MJF for the first time ever, though.
Absolutely, it did, and there's an argument to be made there. But I will say, by comparison, it didn't. It was a nudge as opposed to
I do agree. I do agree on that. But Coby, what's your response to Clark? Do you still think that The Rock should get the win here?
I think it's obvious that he still has to, because you look at the Jeff Jarrett and the roadie thing, and you mentioned it. Road Dogg's name at that time was literally the roadie. Who went on to have a better career?
The roadie.
The roadie. And at the
he's
end
the
of
one
the
that
day,
sings the song.
Music. He's the one that sings the song, but he was still the sidekick to Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett went on to WCW, and then he started TNA. He never had the.
But if there's no With My Baby Tonight, then how do we know about the Road Dogg?
But
how do we find him?
How do we find him? The purpose of the music video was to get Jeff Jarrett over. Jeff Jarrett was the main star in that.
It's the rivalry
pairing
between Roadie and Dogg, because Roadie's the one that sings it. He's lip syncing for Roadie. And then that comes out, and that's why they have the rivalry. That's our introduction to the Roadie.
Yes.
Because he's the real singer.
Yes, I know. But at the end of the day, it was meant to get Jeff Jarrett over. Jeff
it got
Jarrett
the
was
Road
meant
Dogg
to be
over.
the star. It got the Road Dogg over, which is the exact opposite of the purpose of that music video.
Why was it not meant to get the Road Dogg over if they were building a rivalry between the Roadie and Jeff Jarrett for the IC title?
Jeff Jarrett
Wasn't it meant to get the Roadie over because he's the one that sang it? It's not like he lip sync it and we're just gonna go with that's Jeff Jarrett's voice. They told a story of it.
They told a story of it, but
that Roadie was the one that was really singing. It was our intro to the Road Dogg. We don't get the Road Dogg in WWE if he doesn't have the match with Jarrett because he's the one that sang the song for real.
And Jeff Jarrett does, but Jeff Jarrett did nothing.
Well, how to get Jeff Jarrett over? You were trying to project that it was meant to get Jeff Jarrett over. No, it was meant to get the Road Dogg over. That's why they had him lip sync the song.
The purpose of the song was to get Jeff Jarrett over, and then the storyline coming out of it was the fact that Road Dogg sang it in real life.
How is the purpose of a song that he did not sing to get Jeff over?
Because that gets him over as a heel.
He already was playing a heelish country singer. He didn't have to do a song. We already looked at him as he's the country singer. He carries a guitar, wears his little suspenders and stuff, and all of that. And then how is it? It's not to get Jeff over. It's to get the Road Dogg over. It's to get Roadie over. Roadie's the one that sang it. That's what it built to that match.
Listen, I absolutely, Kobe, I really, really respect the effort to just stick to your original opinion there and try and debate it, to be honest. But at the end of it, I think, Clark, you are right. They did do more. It did a lot for the Road Dogg. It literally made his career. And Road, it was in front of his name his entire career, Road Dogg. So absolutely, it had a big, big impact. And like you said, led to DX and all of that. It's huge. It has a huge historical effect, even though the segment isn't quite as memorable. And it is for that reason that I'm going to be sending Jeff Jarrett and Road Dogg's performance to Wrestling Heaven. And yes, I've got a spring here today.
The Slinky.
That's the budget we currently have. But
Toy Story 3. It's all about the Slinky.
But, oh gosh. So we got Andrew Guernsey in the comments saying, good, clean family fun. I'm letting all my children listen and watch. Road Dogg, I'm more of a road cruiser kind of guy.
Shout out Guernsey, you're the best. Happy Mother's Day. Tell Mama Gurns happy Mother's Day, Gurns.
Oh.
I love that.
Oh my gosh. But let's move on now to the next round. And the next round is another themed round. And it is the worst AEW Double or Nothing match. Which Double or Nothing match, one single match, do you want to send to Wrestling Hell? Clark, we're starting with you this round. Which match are you going to send there?
I had to do a deep dive this morning. I had to do a real deep dive. And then I found the one. Oh. And when I found it, I was so excited. And it's a no-brainer. It is, what do you want to talk about? Against Anthony Ogogo. And it's not close. QT Marshall, QT I shop at Marshall's, whatever you want to call him, accompanying Ogogo to the ring. You've got Arn and Cody. You have the worst Dynamite segment of all time to build it. The weigh-in. Poor Paul White Big Show's out there like on an absolute island. And this match delivered nothing. Not a lick. It was, where's Anthony Ogogo, man? I haven't seen him on television since. Not even the once. The guy's a world-class boxer all time. Like, crazy story about the eye injury and everything. What were we doing here? What was the thought process? Why did we do it at all? And yeah, no, that's the no-brainer for me. It's Cody and Ogogo, and as far as what I want to talk about, it's definitely not this match. And that's what I would say.
We're just abusing Cody for that line on every show at this point. But, I mean, the original idea with Anthony Ogogo was for him to, expand the UK audience. Because he's a well-known name in the UK, and to really help bring more eyes in the UK to All Elite Wrestling, and for, Ogogo to perhaps main event or be involved at a big stadium show in the UK. However, what just months away now from AEW running a near sold out Wembley Stadium, and it's very unlikely Anthony Ogogo is going to be involved. Like
I've
you
been
touched
putting up
on,
missing posters.
we haven't really seen him since. He did show up in Progress at some point, and I think the actual reason is his eye. He had an issue with his eye, and in that match with Cody, it reoccurred or something, and it basically meant he pretty much had to retire. I believe that was the reason. So I do think that if it wasn't for that injury, we probably would have seen a bit more of him. But it's a good point. This match, it was kind of like, why is it on the card at the time? But, a few of us gave the benefit of the doubt, saying, well, perhaps they're building Anthony Ogogo, all that. And yeah, they didn't end up building Anthony Ogogo.
He gave a brutally timed promo, too, on the American patriotism thing. It was really bad. It's probably Cody's worst promo of all time.
But Coby, what's your response to that? And what do you, what AEW Double or Nothing match do you want to send to Wrestling Hell?
You rat bastard.
Is that the one you picked?
That's the one of the ones I had written down, and there is I gotta do a good argument here. So this one happened at Double or Nothing 2019, which obviously everyone knows is the first ever AEW pay-per-view where they reveal the world title. We have Kenny and Chris Jericho in the main event. We have a Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers match. We have the infamous Cody Rhodes and Dustin Rhodes match, or the Cody versus Dustin Rhodes, because he was still Cody at the time. But this match, and I want to talk about where it went. So the match I'm talking about is Awesome Kong versus Nyla Rose versus Britt Baker versus Kylie Rae, in which was supposed to kickstart the women's division. We see Kylie Rae leaving the company very shortly after. We have Awesome Kong never really having a proper run in the company. We have Nyla Rose, where she was at one point an AEW Women's World Champion, but the other point is now she's a very plug-and-play superstar where it's like, oh, do we need someone for Jade Cargill to feud with? Oh, let's bring Nyla Rose back for a bit. She's very plug-and-play. She's never on TV for a long time. And then often now she was being paired with Marina Shafir. The only one that came out of it was the winner was Britt Baker. And Britt Baker never really got over it until she put in the work when she was truly injured and became the role model in the wheelchair and became a really good heel. Coming out of this match, Britt Baker won the match, but never saw anything until years after the fact. And it was 21 Double or Nothing 21 when she actually won the title. So this was 2 years before the fact that she was in the peak of her career, which the match did nothing for her other than give her that first women's victory on pay-per-view. So I think I gotta compare this match to where it took them. I mean, if you're gonna compare Cody and Ogogo, I mean, Cody Rhodes just main evented WrestleMania. He's at the top right now. Anthony Ogogo, yes, he had multiple matches in Progress in 2022, and recently definitely was unsuccessful in that point. But that match at least was entertaining to a degree. The 4-way was very much a filler match on that Double or Nothing pay-per-view.
I think everybody, to be fair, does agree that was the first match in AEW's women's division, and it was a disappointment. They hyped up the women's division, and it didn't deliver. That's the fact behind it. I am kind of confused why neither of you guys went for Shawn Spears versus Dustin Rhodes.
I don't know enough about it to defend it.
To be honest, I have less time to research. I'm going to say this. That's a great pick, but let me not to jump the gun on this, but I will say this. I think expectations-wise, Cody Rhodes bringing Anthony Ogogo along with his boxing experience and all of that, and the amount it was featured on Dynamite, while it was the inception of the women's division, given the timing, the expectations were lower. And yes, it under-delivered still, but I don't know if anything under-delivered more than, I mean, this was, they tried to push it as like a co-main event and they stuffed it in the middle of the card for a reason. And I think of the two, it's like, you can make the same claim, and I understand where Kobe's coming from on like, well, look at where Cody is now. He's right. Look where Dr. Britt is now, right? As we spoke about. Same, right? Same. Not same, but close enough there too. And we can do proportions and stuff, but in the women's division, who's the most valuable cog in the entire AEW women's division? It's Dr. Britt Baker by far. Who's the most valuable cog outside of Roman Reigns in the WWE men's division? It's Cody. So proportionally speaking, that one I call a wash, and I'd love to be able to argue like it's worse than that, but I'd call that one a wash. What it comes down to for me is the amount of build that went into Cody and Ogogo and the lack of delivery. You called it an entertaining match, Kobe. I love you to death, buddy, but that's a stretch. I mean, that is an aggressive stretch. That match was highly predictable, and under 10 minutes, and all in ring, a lot of drop downs, a lot of arm drags, a lot of day one stuff. You know, it wasn't high quality. It wasn't high class. It wasn't. Cody hit a Cody cutter. I think that was the most advanced move that was executed in the match.
I mean, listen, I think when it comes down to it, we're talking a specific match here, right? Not necessarily, and to a degree, I mean, history does have to do with it. When you're talking about the specific match, both matches were pretty bad. The women's match was more of a disappointment rather than bad. A Go-Go versus Cody Rhodes as well. I'm going to be honest. I think I was almost expecting at times to be worse. I thought a Go-Go would be slightly greener than he actually looked. He was okay in the ring after that awful build-up, like you pointed out. I mean, I still think that you guys missed a golden opportunity with Dustin Rhodes just undressing Sean Spears.
That was horrible.
I mean, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, yes, the women's Fatal 4-Way was not great, and it's not really memorable, and it was the first match in the AEW women's division, but it wasn't straight up bad. Whereas Anthony Ogogo and Cody Rhodes, the build-up was awful for it. It led to nothing, whereas, I mean, with at least in the women's break, eventually led to something, and I know it was meant to develop all four, and it only developed one, but Rhodes versus Ogogo was meant to build Ogogo, and it didn't do that. So at the end of the day, I'm going to send Cody Rhodes versus Anthony Ogogo to wrestling hell. The Springer really does not work as a leader. But,
it looks good, though. It looks good.
It's fun, you know. It's fun to fiddle with.
It is.
But,
make it a button. Turn it into a button where you go.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, yeah, you know.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah. But anyway, let's go. Let's now go on to the final segment, and that is Wrestling Heaven. And this is the contestants' choice once again. So the contestants can choose whatever they want to send to Wrestling Heaven, whatever they love in wrestling. And this time I'll be heading to Kobe first. Kobe, what are you going to send to Wrestling Heaven?
Well, I'm already the devil, apparently, to the thumbnail. So my Wrestling Heaven is Arsenal not making it to the Premier League. Okay.
Oh, my, no, we are in the Premier League. We just didn't win it. Yeah, anyway.
You're not winning the Premier League. Okay. Anyway, of course, it's not that. Something that came to mind, and just looking back into furthermore history, one of the most not infamous, but one of the bigger tag team rivalries in NXT history was the Revival versus DIY. And that entire rivalry from the opening contest, getting DIY over as faces, because they were very much in the position of like, these are two guys who aren't great. And then they continued to build, and they had the 2 out of 3 falls match as their second actual takeover match at Takeover Toronto. And then that was, of course, the infamous victory for DIY to take that win. And then not to mention Orlando, where although they had a 3-way with the Authors of Pain, a lot of the storytelling was there, seeing DIY tag team and hit each other's moves like the Shatter Machine. I can't remember who exactly did it, but one from FTR and one from DIY hitting the Shatter Machine on one of Authors of Pain. And just overall, the chemistry and tag team rivalry between the two are top notch. And it is one of those cogs that people look back upon in NXT history as this is one of the things that continued and was one of the things that contributed to NXT being that special. That special brand, that special show, having that special roster at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a beautiful feud.
It's a beautiful run.
It was amazing. I mean, obviously injuries kind of hindered it when it was when they turned against each other, but the actual DIY and the Revival feud itself, it was absolutely phenomenal. But Clark, what's your response to that, and what do you want to send to Wrestling Heaven?
So honestly, as much as I love actually what Coby presented, and I hate to do this to you, I want a little more existential, but I think this is going to be more important to get into heaven first, because we need to keep this. This is one of my favorite things in professional wrestling. Shout out Pat Patterson, rest in peace. But the winner of the Royal Rumble should always challenge for a main title, a main event title, main event worthy, top of the card title at WrestleMania every year until we're old men and women as wrestling fans. That is an absolute fact. The Royal Rumble is my favorite event of the year by miles, and it's not close. And the value of winning that event on the men's side or the women's side needs to be absolutely retained and cherished, and storytelling around it needs to be built the way that we've done it along the way, not formulaic, but that is one of the best wrestling concepts of all time, and we need to protect it at all costs because it's one of those things where it's fine when you end up with the triple threat match every now and again, whatnot, right? People can enter the space, but the value of winning the Rumble needs to stay. And that's what I want to enter into Wrestling Heaven is the value of winning the Rumble. Keep the Rumble strong. Please.
Okay. So you want to send to Wrestling Heaven the value of winning the Royal Rumble, or basically the Royal Rumble winner challenging for a major title.
Never change it.
WrestleMania, to never change those rules. Coby, do you have a response to that?
I think the only response I can think about is how you threw it as a softball. Because Pat Patterson came up with the concept of the match, of the Royal Rumble.
Including the title shot.
Including the title shot, but you
so don't make that argument.
You were trying to put in Wrestling Heaven the fact that the winner of the Royal Rumble goes on to WrestleMania.
Mania.
The real hardball, the real fastball that you could easily beat me with is just the match itself. The Royal Rumble is one of the most infamous matches. It is a famous match. Wrestling fans alike enjoy it. They have the special matches. We've had special moments like John Cena's return in it, like Edge's coming back from retirement. But that's the match itself. If you were putting the match itself in Wrestling Heaven, I'd say give it to him. But you're trying to put in the value of the winner getting a WrestleMania match, which is different.
Match.
You went differently, and that's
I don't want to go too broad. So I want to be a little
enough. Yeah. You don't want to go too broad on this show, in fairness.
I do completely hear that. I will say this: if they don't main event Mania, one of the two nights, now that we have two nights, then what's the point here, right? And so we had Cody this year, and it was outstanding. Michaels winning to face Bret Hart. Come on, 96. It's the best. It's the best. When they get that right and they tell that story and they win the Rumble, and you get McIntyre versus Brock. It's so ridiculous that didn't happen in front of fans. But if it did, we all heard that pop when McIntyre eliminated Brock and when he won that Rumble down in Houston, right? Shout out Jack Ireland down in Houston. We all heard that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you can set up for the main of main events, the title picture is linked to the Rumble, it just brings even more. It's my favorite pay-per-view for a reason. And I want that to be protected above all, or premium live event. I apologize. I want that to be protected above all of the other choices within the WWE.
Well, that is a great statement, and of course, the Royal Rumble is very, very important, and it's got a place in all of our hearts. But talking about hearts, I mean, the Rebel Heart Johnny Gargano and the Black Heart Tommaso Ciampa, their feud of the Revival, that pulled on your heartstrings. That really was. It was such a great, great moment in professional wrestling history. I mean, I'd argue actually maybe the best moment in NXT history. Yes, I'd go that far. However, before I get into which one of these I'm going to put in Wrestling Heaven, I'm actually firstly going to go back to the first round, Wrestling Hell, and I'm going to answer that Instagram story poll which I put up, where I asked which is worse, wrestlers throwing another wrestler out of the ring, pushing their opponent.
Did you vote?
No.
Good. I didn't vote either.
Okay, wrestlers throwing another wrestler out of the ring and pushing their opponent into the barricade before then going to a commercial break, or Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 33 and the projections in it. Well, the vote in 71% have voted one win, 29% the other. So it is quite a comfortable margin. So, but at the same time, it's not 100%. It's not 100% beef free. So there is a bit of controversy. But Kobe, Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, WrestleMania 33 is going to Wrestling Hell.
IWC.
So that makes it 2-1. Will it be a draw, or will Clark win again and continue that streak? Well, let's go back again to this, right? The Royal Rumble match. It's one of those matches where, as I said, as a kid, it was probably the pay-per-view everybody, well, not just as a kid, but I mean, as we've gotten older, I guess it's a bit more obvious now, but as a kid, there was the pay-per-view you were so excited about. It was so unpredictable, and there's so many possibilities could come from it. And if you want it, it could change a career. It put you in that main event slot of WrestleMania for the major world championship. And that is something in wrestling which does feel very important. However, what is also important in wrestling is top quality wrestling storytelling. And let's be real, in 2017 or 2018, whenever the DIY Revival feud was, there had not been too much of that in WWE for quite some time. Brutal honesty about that there. And DIY and the Revival brought it back. They had a 5-star match for the ages. The story was perfect, and you just couldn't stop it. You were invested into it. In the first WWE storyline for quite a while, which gave anybody that emotion, in my personal opinion. And in fact,
how many people watch DIY, and how many people are going to watch the Rumble next year?
We've seen it since with the Bloodline and all that. Now there's been a lot better storylines.
I know. I'm about to draw.
But the DIY and Revival was the first one in quite some time to got to do that, and they had, in my opinion, WWE's first 5-star match in quite a few years as well. But at the end of the day, the Royal Rumble is a very, very, very important stipulation, and the stakes of it need to stay like that. So the Royal Rumble winner getting a major championship slot at WrestleMania is going to Wrestling Heaven. And just like that, Clark wins this week's episode of Wrestling Heaven and Hell 3-1 over Kobe. And yeah, that's the end of it. Clark, your streak is now beginning. Can you carry it on? Well, we'll have to run it back in a couple of weeks. Looking to be
the Roman Reigns.
But that brings us to the end of the show, guys. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, please follow and give us 5 stars. It really helps us out a lot. Please tell your friends. We're here every day. We'll be back here tomorrow for Mailbag Monday. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.